Welcome to the 2013 Biennial Libertarian Party of Oregon Convention. I'm glad that all of you have been able to make time to meet fellow libertarians from all over our state and help our party conduct important business and make important decisions. My name is Wes Wagner, and I have served as chairperson of this party since April of 2011. I'm sorry I could not be here in person today. I prepared this report so you'll have an idea of where we have been, what the board and I have done over the past few years, and to remind you that the future of this party will be what you make of it. The Libertarian Party of Oregon has gone through many changes in the past several years. When I became vice chairperson in 2010, I and several of the existing officers were elected with a charge. That charge was to help the Libertarian Party of Oregon restructure from a private club of dues-paying members to a full political organization. In March of 2010, the members of the party met in convention and elected a new leadership team, and passed a resolution to restructure the party to recognize all registered libertarians as members with full voting rights in the organization, and to conduct our business by mail ballot to ensure the highest levels of participation. A convention was set for November 2010 to iron out the final details and resolve any differences in opinion. Unfortunately, there were some people who disagreed with this solution, and instead of working productively with the majority of us, they conspired with elements of the National Party to try to prevent meaningful reform of the organization from happening. Our November convention in 2010 was shut down prematurely, and instead of it being an event for unity and reconciliation, the disaffected members who desired to continue the dues-paying requirements of the party, with the help of the National Party officers, which is also a dues-paying organization, argued that the party could not do business due to a lack of quorum. We learned that their ultimate intent was to hijack the party through strained parliamentary and legal abuse and change the bylaws without your consent or even the consent of the then dues-paying members of the party to ensure that no meaningful reform would ever occur. As a result, in March 2011, the board voted to revise the bylaws to the version the party currently has today, and referred them by mail ballot to every registered libertarian in Oregon. The disgruntled group made attempts to take possession of the organization through the Oregon Secretary of State's office on several occasions, and attempted to seek recognition from the National Party, all of which ultimately failed despite their misrepresentations to those groups. Eventually, they filed a lawsuit in Clackamas County with the assistance of the Republican Party of Oregon's lawyer to seek to return the party to the old 2009 bylaws, which were the source of much controversy and prevented our party from functioning, and install themselves as your leaders, and return the party to a system where only people who knew enough to send in $50 in dues were actually contacted by the party or allowed to participate in party business. I suspect that they are not here today to ask you to accept the system they want to impose. If you're interested in knowing more, there's a sheet in your information packet that has resources you can use to educate yourself, and an invitation to the May 16th court hearing if you have the time and inclination to learn more. In spite of the lawsuit, we continued on the course which the membership in 2010 set us upon. For the first time in party history, we mailed every registered member of the party and asked them to get involved. We sent every one of them a mail ballot and asked them to participate in our electoral process. We asked them to ratify the new system of party governance that was adopted, and the response was overwhelming. More than 96% of the Libertarian voters who participated in our 2012 primary approved of the new bylaws and nominated a record number of partisan candidates. We fielded over 20 Libertarian candidates for public office, which was a 300% improvement over the prior election, and made several fusion nominations of candidates from other minor parties and a few from the major ones. Our social events are growing in attendance, and there is a renewed interest by people in starting local groups and organizing themselves. While the lawsuit has not yet been resolved, the LPO has been thriving, and it is because people like you have taken an interest in this party. This is our party now, and it is up to us to make it prosper. I cannot and will not tell you what you should believe in, what you should do, how you should do it. That is just not who we are. And we as libertarians should never run a political party the way our adversaries do. Their systems are based on hierarchy, on power, on subjugation, and rules that bind people and press them into servitude. That is not who we are. We are the only political party of people who believe in the pinnacle of human equity, that each of us as an individual has every right to live in peace, own ourselves and our own bodies, the fruits of our labors, and the sovereignty of our minds. We live in a world where we were raised to glorify violence. We were brainwashed to believe that it can be harvested for moral ends. Where we were taught that laws and the authority figures who derive their power from those laws, who enforce them through violence, imprisonment, and death, are supposed to be benevolent and admired. There are those of us who know better, and know that nothing moral can be created through violence, hate, murder, and subjugation, no matter how we attempt to rationalize it. So who am I if I am the chairperson of an organization which should have no rulers? Our board members and I are nothing but stewards of a very important asset, our ballot access. The state compels us to have such a structure if we are to participate in their electoral processes. And if anyone ever tries to be anything but that, please revolt, quickly, often, and with prejudice. That process is just one of the many public stages we can use to put forward our ideas for a society based not on violence and force, but on voluntary interactions, virtues, and peaceful relations. We can use that stage and our ballot access as candidates for office to make our voice heard and to confront the system we have today. There are people who listen, and minorities become majorities in time, but not without the effort of brave people who are willing to argue for what is just in an otherwise unjust world. We also have a membership roster of over 15,600 people who have all expressed that they are libertarians like you. You can use that to find friends and allies to do good things in your communities. You are not alone. We have social networking sites, email lists, websites, and brand identity. All of those things will have as much value as you build in them and leverage them. They are our assets, and they are your assets. The assets of everyone who is willing to declare themselves a libertarian and be named and counted among us. This is not a place for ceremony, fancy titles, ambition, or for the narcissistic dreams of political hopefuls to be played out. There is enough of that in this world already. We are the people who say no to all of it. You will hear more reports after mine from our vice chair, our treasurer, and our secretary. Listen to them carefully and consider what we are doing well and what we could be doing better. This organization will be as prosperous to the extent that we all invest our time, energy, and finances towards it. We recently elected a new board that will start their terms of office tonight. Although they will care for the business matters of the party for the next 2 years, the leadership of this organization is not vested in them. It is vested in you. I have stated that I am willing to serve as chairperson for at least one more term if the new board will have me. I can only state that my best qualification is that I know what I believe is the most important thing about politics. That no good person who seeks power and believes that he can accomplish good with it will ever succeed. We often hear the idiom that power corrupts. It is not that power corrupts, but that it attracts the easily corruptible, which is why we see the ills that often come with it. Further, power is useless to the virtuous. Anything accomplished by means other than voluntary relations can only be sustained temporarily and at great human expense. It is my personal goal to find every person I can who understands this concept, who can articulate it to others, why a society based on violence is immoral, and to stand to be elected to office, not for the purpose of being more benevolent masters, but to deny that power to others and see it disassembled and something more natural, virtuous, and sustainable put into its place. Consider how our state would change if every election cycle there was a candidate standing for every position of power, advocating these virtues rather than the ones we currently hear. Truths can crowd out lies so long as there are enough brave people to speak those truths. We will not create a better world through revolution, violence, or by thinking ourselves more noble and worthy of ruling over other people, better than the Democrats or Republicans, and convincing voters to choose us as their next masters. This is a mistake that the Libertarian Party has made for decades, believing somehow that we could put forward better rulers and run a system of violence, control, and taxation in a more benevolent manner than the people we seek to replace. This was and is a lie, and we should stop telling it, and try the truth instead. The only sustainable option is renaissance, not revolution. One hard-fought victory to elect a president at the ballot box will change nothing. Electing a handful of representatives will prove nothing. Our battle is to change the entire manner in which people view what passes for society. That is what sets us apart from everyone else, is that we do not seek to rule over anyone. It is when we convince people of this virtue, they will take the system apart and liberate themselves. That is what a libertarian victory looks like in my eyes, in the future towards which I strive and have advocated during my term as chair. And that is my report on the state of the Libertarian Party of Oregon.